The war had ended only 3 months ago, but the smell of burnt metal still hung in the air over many battlefields. Captain Rhea stood inside the cockpit of her small patrol ship, staring at the endless dark of space. Her ship drifted near the ruins of an old battle site, broken warships, shattered armor plates, and drifting bodies frozen in silence. The galaxy had called it peace, but Rhea knew it was only a pause. Somewhere out there, the people who had betrayed Earth were still alive. Her mission was simple: scan the wreckage for any dangerous tech left behind. But she had learned in the war that simple missions often turned into nightmares. She leaned closer to the console as her ship's sensors caught something, a faint, repeating signal. It was old, distorted, but there was something human in its pattern. "Lieutenant, can you clean that up?" she asked without turning her head. The young officer at the comms panel tapped the keys. The signal grew sharper until a voice emerged from the static. It was calm, confident, and completely unexpected. "If you are hearing this, you already know the truth. We are not gone. We are not hiding. We are watching. And when the time comes, we'll finish what we started." The crew exchanged nervous glances. Rhea's grip on the console tightened. "Is that live?" she asked. The lieutenant hesitated. "No, Captain, this was sent less than 12 hours ago." That made no sense. The voice belonged to someone she had thought was dead, a human officer who had fought beside her in the final days of the war. His ship had been destroyed. She had seen it herself. But here he was, speaking as if he had never left. "Track it," Rhea ordered. The ship's computer worked quickly, narrowing the signal's origin to a cluster of derelict enemy cruisers at the far edge of the battlefield. Rhea's heart beat faster. If the signal was real, someone had stayed behind after the war. Hiding among the wrecks, her ship moved slowly between the broken hulks of metal. The view outside was like drifting through a graveyard. Massive alien warships floated silently, their hulls scorched and ripped apart. They found the source a small, blackened pod wedged inside the torn side of an enemy cruiser. It looked like it had been there for months, maybe longer. But its beacon was fresh. Rhea and 2 crew members suited up and stepped into the cold void. Their mag boots clicked softly against the alien hull as they approached the pod. Helmet display scanned it. Human design. Old Earth military tech. Inside the pod, she found a recording unit still running. It was the same voice they had heard her former ally, speaking directly into the camera, his eyes calm, his tone almost friendly. "If you find this, Captain Rhea, then you survived. Good. That means you're strong enough to understand. The war you fought wasn't the real war. The true enemy is still here. Some of your so-called friends are with them. We did what had to be done, and soon you'll see why." The message ended with coordinates, but not to any known star system. They pointed to deep, uncharted space, Captain. One of her crew whispered through the comms, "This doesn't make sense." "Why would he leave this for you?" Rhea didn't answer right away. Memories flooded her mind. The battles they had fought together, the trust they had built, and the day she thought he died. Could he have betrayed Earth during the war? Or was this warning real? Before she could decide, her helmet sensor flashed red. Movement, something was drifting toward them from the darkness. At first, it looked like more wreckage. But as it drew closer, Rhea saw it was a small probe, one she didn't recognize. It moved too smoothly, too deliberately. "Back to the ship now," she ordered. They pushed off from the cruiser, mag boots releasing with a metallic click. The probe changed course, following them. It didn't fire weapons. It just kept its distance, as if watching. Once inside the ship, Rhea ordered full power. The engines roared to life, but the probe remained on their tail, matching speed. "Captain, it's broadcasting something," the lieutenant said. "Put it on." A new voice filled the cockpit talion, cold and unfamiliar. "You have taken what is not yours. Leave it where you found it, and you may live. Continue on your path. We will finish what your war began." The transmission cut off. The probe stopped, floating in the void, almost like it was waiting for her decision. Rhea looked at the pod and the cargo hold through the rear camera. Every instinct told her to destroy it, to walk away and forget. But another voice inside her said this was the lead she had been waiting for, the proof that the war was not over. It's that traitors had played a part. Set course for the coordinates, she said finally. The lieutenant turned to her, eyes wide.
Captain, that's uncharted.
Space. We don't know what's out there. That's exactly why we're going, she replied. The stars stretched into long white lines as the ship jumped to faster-than-light travel. But Ria's mind was already racing. If the man in the recording was alive, he held the answers too. The questions she had been asking since the war ended. Somewhere out there in the deep dark, the traitors were waiting. And Ria had just declared the hunt had begun. In the quiet hum of the ship, she leaned back in her seat. Her crew thought. The war had been the worst thing they would ever face. Ria knew better. The first war had been survival. The next one, be personal. The ship glided through the emptiness between stars, its engines a steady hum in the background. Captain Ria sat in the command chair, staring at the coordinates from the recording. They were still 2 days away from the location.
Ow.
No one on board said much. The crew felt the weight of the strange message, the warning, and the alien threat that had followed them. On the second day, they picked up a faint energy signatures, small, flickering, like something trying to hide, Ria ordered. A course change. If the war had taught her anything, it was that every mystery in deep space was worth investigating, or at least worth being sure it wouldn't kill you later. The signal led them to a drifting alien outpost, the kind built during the war to store supplies and intelligence. Its lights were dead, hull cracked in several places, and its position. Outside known trade routes suggested it had been abandoned long ago, but the scanners said otherwise. It was still power deep inside. Lieutenant Ria said, "Gear up a team. We're going inside." They boarded through a side hatch, the sound of their boots echoing in the empty corridors. Dust floated in the low gravity. Broken screens flickered weakly. The air was stale, smelling faintly of burned wiring near the central command room. They found something unexpected, a body. Alien, wearing the uniform of one of Earth's supposed wartime allies. Judging from the wound he'd been shot in, the back on the console beside him was a small datapad. Ria picked it up carefully. Its surface was scorched, but the device still powered on. A soft blue light filled the room as the files loaded. The screen showed a list. Dozens of names. Alien. Names. Human names. Some were dead, others alive. At first, the list meant nothing until she saw the section marked Operatives with Level 3 clearance. There it was. A name she knew better than most. Admiral Varen, she whispered. Lieutenant Niles frowned. You're Varen? The one from the final battle? Yes, Ria said quietly. He was one of the first to call for peace talks. He saved my life on Arden Prime, and according to this, she tapped the datapad. He also reported directly to the Silent Accord. Before anyone could speak, the datapad beeped sharply. A warning flashed across the screen. Data breach detected. External trace initiated. They know we have it, Niles said. Die. The lights in the corridor suddenly flared on, one by one, leading toward the exit. Then came the sound metal boots, many of them marching in unison from deeper inside the station. Ria shoved the datapad into her bag. Move. Back to the ship. They ran, weapons ready, as shadows appeared at the far end of the hall. Figures in black armor, moving fast. The team barely made it to the docking hatch. As they sealed the airlock, a burst of energy fire slammed into the door. The ship's engines roared, pulling them free from the outpost's grip. Through the rear cameras, Ria saw the armored soldiers step into the docking bay. One of them looked straight into the camera, then raised his hand slowly in a gesture that was almost a salute. Back on the bridge, Ria placed the datapad on the console. Plot a course away from this system, she ordered. Niles looked at her. Captain, you realize what this means? If Varen really is working with them, then it means the betrayal went higher than we thought, Ria said, her eyes cold. And we're not just chasing ghosts anymore. We're hunting people who once stood beside us. The datapad beeped again. A new file had unlocked its self-coordinates to a meeting point labeled simply Black Star Station. Ria leaned forward. in her chair. Looks like the hunt just gave us our first real target. The jump through faster than light space ended with a flash, and Ria's ship slid into the dim glow of a starless region known as neutral space. It was the kind of place smugglers, loved and honest people avoided. Out here there were no patrols, no laws-only ships that didn't want to be found. The crew was tense. The datapad from the alien outpost now sat locked in the captain's safe, its coordinates pointing them toward Black Star Station. But the Silent Accord had already proven they could track them. Ria knew they wouldn't make the trip without trouble. Her suspicion was confirmed within hours. "Captain," the lieutenant said from the sensor station, "I've got something. But it's strange. No transponder, no engine heat." Ria moved to his console. On the display, a faint dot hovered far behind them, matching their course exactly. She frowned. How far? 3,000 clicks. Steady distance? That's too close for an accident, Ria said. "Helm, alter course 20 degrees to starboard." The ship drifted into its new heading, shifted with them, like a shadow that refused to leave. "It's following us," Niall said quietly. "Bring us through the asteroid field ahead," Ria ordered. "Let's see how bold they are." The ship slid into the dense maze of spinning rock. Fragments. The size of buildings tumbled around them. The helmsman weaved between them with careful precision. But the dot stayed behind them, never gaining, never falling back. "That's not a regular ship," Ria muttered. "It's a hunter." Suddenly, the dot vanished. "Lost contact," the lieutenant said. Ria scanned the black space beyond the asteroids. Her gut told her the ship hadn't left it, had simply gone invisible. "Cut the engines," she said. The sudden silence filled the cockpit. The only sound was the faint groan of the hull as the ship drifted in the asteroid field. Ria stood still, eyes on the dark between the rocks. Then she saw it just for a second. A shimmer, like light bending the wrong way, sliding past an asteroid, was moving toward them. "Target that distortion," she shouted. Weapons locked on, and the gunners fired. A blast of light tore through the shadow, revealing the outline of a sleek black vessel, long, narrow, and covered in strange segmented plating that rippled as it moved. The ship didn't return fire. Instead, it accelerated, darting past them at impossible speed before vanishing into the darkness again. "What was that?" Niles breathed. Ria's voice was steady. "Message. They wanted us to know they're here." The rest of the journey through neutral space was worse than a battle. The crew jumped at every flicker on the sensors, every shadow against the stars. The black vessel appeared twice more, once far ahead of them, once beside them for less than a heartbeat. It was playing with them, watching by the time Black Star Station appeared on their scanners. Everyone was on edge. The massive structure floated against the darkness, a twisted ring of metal and lights. It looked less like a station and more like the skeleton of some long-dead creature. As the docking clamps latched on, Ria rose from her chair. She adjusted her pistol belt and checked the datapad one last time. Admiral Varen's name was still there, tied to this place. She glanced at her crew. "Stay sharp. If the Accord wanted us dead, we wouldn't have made it here. That means they want something else." "And if Viren really is here?" Niles asked. Ria's eyes were cold. "Then he's going to tell me exactly why he betrayed us. Before I decide whether he walks out alive." Black Star Station was alive with shadows. The docking bay was dim, lit only by flickering strips along the floor. Ships of every size and shape rested in the gloom cargo haulers. Pirate raiders and sleek yachts belonging to people who didn't want questions asked. The air smelled of engine fumes and something sharp, like burned ozone. Ria stepped off the ramp with Niles and two other crew at her side. Their weapons were hidden under long coats, but their eyes never stopped moving. This was a place where people vanished without a sound. They moved through narrow corridors lined with traders selling everything from alien spices to illegal weapon mods. Conversations stopped when strangers passed. Every step deeper into the station felt like walking into a mouth that might close behind them. The datapad signal led them to a section marked Private Decks. Two tall guards blocked the entrance. Their armor marked with a symbol Rhea didn't recognize, a silver circle split by a jagged line. "We're expected," Rhea said evenly, showing the datapad. The guards exchanged a glance before stepping aside. Scans, no questions. That was worse than a search. It meant whoever was inside already knew exactly who they were. The corridor beyond was quiet, almost too quiet after the noise of the market. The walls were clean here, the lighting steady. At the end, a door slid open without a sound. Rhea stepped in first. The room was wide, with a single table at the center. And there he was, Admiral Varen. He was seated casually, a drink in his hand, wearing a dark coat instead of a uniform. He looked older, but the sharpness in his eyes was unchanged. "I was wondering how long it would take you," he said, smiling faintly. "Please, sit." Rhea didn't move. "You're supposed to be dead." Varen shrugged. "Death is easy to arrange if you know the right people. And during a war, no one asks too many questions." "You fought beside us," Rhea said. "You stood on the bridge during Arden Prime, and I saved you," Varen replied. "Don't forget that." He took a slow sip of his drink, but I also saw what was coming. "The war you think you won was nothing more than the first test. The real war is still out there, and Earth is walking into it blind." Rhea's jaw tightened. "You betrayed the Alliance. You worked with the enemy." "I worked with those who could ensure survival," Varen said calmly. "The Silent Accord is not your enemy, Captain. They are. Preparation. Without them, humanity will be crushed before it understands the scale of the threat." Rhea took a step closer, then explained why you've been killing our people. For the first time, Varan's smile faded, because they refused to see the truth. And soon, the Council will too. That's why they're already moving against Earth. Before Rhea could respond, her wrist buzzed sharply. Niall's voice came through, urgent. "Captain, we've got movement station. Security is locking down the docks. Multiple ships closing in." Varen leaned back in his chair. "Looks like our time is short." He slid a small drive across the table. "Take this. It's proof of everything I'm telling you. But once you see it, you can't go back." The floor shook beneath the man explosion somewhere close. Sirens wailed, lights flashing red. Varen stood. "You have two choices, Rhea. Leave now and live a little longer. Or stay and find out what's really coming." Rhea grabbed the drive, her mind already racing. From the doorway, Niall shouted, "Captain, we have to go!" Rhea backed toward the exit, keeping her weapon trained on Varen until the door sealed between them. As they ran toward the docking bay, the station's alarms grew louder. Through the blast windows, she saw ships maneuvering outside, black, sleek, and unmistakable. The same kind that had stalked them in neutral space. The Silent Accord had been waiting. The escape from Black Star Station was chaos. Sirens blared through the narrow corridors as station security clashed with unknown soldiers in black armor. The air smelled of smoke and burned wiring. Every few seconds, the floor shook with the force of nearby blasts. Rhea and her team sprinted through the twisting halls, weapons drawn. Niles covered their rear, firing short bursts at shapes moving in the shadows behind them. Somewhere above, a heavy door slammed shut, sealing part of the station off. They reached the docking bay to find their ship surrounded by 3 armored figures. Without hesitation, Rhea fired first. Energy bolts lit the smoke-filled air. 2 of the figures dropped instantly, their armor sparking. The third vanished behind a stack of cargo crates. "Move," Rhea shouted. The crew charged up the ramp. As soon as the hatch closed, the pilot slammed the engines to full power. The ship tore free from the docking clamps just as an explosion ripped through the hangar behind them. Out in open space, things were no better. Black Star Station was swarming with ship smugglers fleeing, Accord vessels moving in, station defense craft firing wildly in all directions. It looked less like a battle and more like a feeding frenzy. "Plot a course for jump space," Rhea ordered. As the ship angled away, a transmission request appeared on the comms. Not from Varen, not from the Accord, but from the Galactic Council itself. "Put it through," Rhea said cautiously. A holographic projection filled the cockpit, a stern alien counselor, his silver eyes cold. "To the people of the galaxy, this message concerns the actions of Earth and its military. Evidence has surfaced of deliberate attacks on Allied fleets during the war. falsified battle reports, and the theft of restricted technology. Until a full investigation is complete, all human ships are to be detained. Any resistance will be considered an act of war. The transmission cut out. Silence fell across the bridge. They're painting us as criminals, Niles said, disbelief in his voice. It's the Accord, Rhea replied. Rin warned me. They've planted this. The Council will move against Earth before we can clear our name. And if they do? The pilot asked quietly. Then we fight, Rhea said, her tone sharp. But not yet. First we need proof. Real proof. That means finding the source of the planted evidence. The pilot hesitated. And where do we start? Rhea glanced at the small drive Varen had given her. It sat on the console like a loaded weapon. We start here, she said. She inserted the drive. The ship's screens flickered, showing a map of the galaxy dotted with red marks. Each mark came with a named council members, military leaders, corporate heads, all linked to the Silent Accord. This, Niles whispered, this isn't just a betrayal. This is a network. Before they could study it further, an alert blared. Multiple warp signatures closing fast. The same black ships that had stalked them before emerged from jump space, fanning out to block every escape vector. They're not letting us go, the pilot said grimly. Rhea's voice was steady. Then we make our own way through. The ship's weapons roared, and the hunt for the galaxy's traitors became a fight for survival. The first attack came while most of the crew was asleep. Rhea woke to a faint hiss in the ventilation system, too soft to be an engine sound, too steady to be a random fault. She slid from her bunk, hand on her sidearm, and stepped into the dimly lit corridor. The air felt colder, heavier. A shadow moved at the far end. "Who's there?" she called. No answer. Only the sound of bootsteps retreating quickly. She followed, moving silently, her weapon raised. The shadow slipped into the maintenance deck, and when Rhea entered, she saw 2 crew members lying on the floor, unconscious but breathing. Standing over them was a figure in black armor slimmer than the ones they'd fought before, built for stealth. The intruder turned its helmet toward her and spoke through a voice modulator. "You should have destroyed the drive, Captain. Now you've doomed your people." Before she could fire, the intruder threw a small device to the floor. It burst into a blinding flash, and by the time her vision cleared, the figure was gone. She tapped her cum. All crew security locked down, now. The ship came alive with alarms. Footsteps pounded in the halls as the crew scrambled to secure every section. In the chaos, a voice came over the cumscom, cold and too close. "Captain Rhea, you have a traitor on board. They've been feeding us your every move." Rhea froze. The Accord had already infiltrated them. She ordered a full scan of life signs aboard the ship. One reading was moving against the lockdown order, heading for the engine room. When Rhea arrived, she found Niles crouched beside an open console, inserting a small black device into the ship's core systems. "Niles," she said slowly. "What are you doing?" He turned, guilt and defiance mixing in his eyes. "You don't understand, Rhea. We can't win. The Accord isn't the enemy there. The only chance we have to survive what's coming. You've been sending them our position," she said. "I've been keeping you alive," he shot back. "They could have killed us a dozen times by now. They're letting you run because they want you to find the rest of the council rats for them." Rhea's voice was low and dangerous. "Step away from the console." Niles didn't move. "If you destroy that drive, they'll let us go." "We can," she fired. The shot hit him clean in the chest. His body slumped, the black device clattering to the floor. The bridge reported moments later, "Captain, the pursuing ships. They've broken off. They're just watching from a distance." Rhea stared at the empty space on the screen where Niles' life sign had been. She felt no relief, only the cold certainty that the Accord had just learned exactly how far she was willing to go. "Get us moving," she ordered. "We have a network to burn down." But in the silence that followed, she knew something for certain. The hunt was no longer one-sided. The Accord was hunting her too. The Alien War Council met in darkness. Their leaders no longer spoke in proud voices. Every word carried fear. For months, they had tried to predict humanity's next move. For months, They had failed. Their fleets were scattered, their strongholds shattered, and yet they still searched for one way to turn the war in their favor. At the center of the chamber, a holographic star map glowed, showing the few systems they still controlled. They knew those systems would not last. Earth's fleets moved like shadows, peering in one place, striking with impossible precision and vanishing before anyone could respond. It was not a war anymore. It was a hunt. One alien commander leaned forward, his voice trembling. "We do nothing. Our species will be gone within cycles. We must give humanity a reason to stop. If they will not accept peace, then we must force them into a trap so great it will cost them everything." The plan they proposed was simple, but dangerous. They would abandon a key fortress world and let it fall into human hands. But beneath the surface of that planet, hidden deep in abandoned tunnels, they would place a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Not to destroy ships, not to kill soldiers, but to strike at something far more dangerous: the human mind. The weapon was ancient, stolen from a dead civilization. It was not made of metal or plasma. It was a pulse of thought and energy wave designed to break the will of any creature it touched. It could fill the mind with terror, confusion, and despair, and it could be unleashed across an entire fleet in a single heartbeat. They knew it was their last chance. If it worked, humanity's fleets might turn against themselves, unable to think or fight. If it failed, there would be nothing left to protect them. Meanwhile, far away, aboard the flagship Resolute Dawn, Admiral Reyes received reports of the enemy's sudden retreat. A fortress world abandoned without a fight? It made no sense. Humanity had learned long ago that nothing in war was ever easy. And yet the temptation was there, the chance to seize the planet's resources, to cut off the enemy's last line of defense. But Reyes had a feeling, a weight in her chest. "No enemy leaves a door open without something waiting behind it," she said quietly to her officers. Still, the orders came from Earth Command: take the planet, the human fleet. Prepared for descent, unaware that the enemy's last plan was already in motion. And that once the trap closed, the war would change in ways no one could predict. The galaxy was silent. Too silent. In the aftermath of humanity's relentless campaign, the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. The great alien empires, once proud, once certain of their own superiority, had been reduced to whispers in the void. Their fleets were shattered, their worlds scarred, and their leaders either dead or in hiding. Yet, despite the destruction, one truth kept every surviving species awake at night. Humanity was still out there. Still hunting, on the edge of the Perseus Arm. A single alien warship drifted through the black, its crew desperate to avoid detection. They had turned off all non-essential systems, cut their heat signature, and even refrained from using internal lights. But fear ran deeper than shadows because they knew the humans could find them without sensors, without signals. Almost as if Earth's hunters could smell fear across the stars. Inside the warship, Captain Rolvon gripped the arm of his command chair. His claws trembled not from cold, but from the memory of what had happened to their sister ship, the Vrachten. One moment, it had been coasting silently between asteroids. The next, a human ship had emerged from a blind vector, moving without a detectable warp trail, firing once and vanishing. No warnings, no demands, only the kill. Then the ship's AI reported something. A faint ping on the outer hull. Not weapons fire, not debris. Something small and moving. The crew froze. The captain issued orders in a whisper. Though everyone knew sound didn't travel in space, it was an old instinct born from terror. On the hull, a shadow crawled. Not a drone, not a mine. Human. Encased in a matte black exosuit that absorbed all light, the figure moved slowly, methodically. No jets, no bursts, just magnetic boots and patient steps. The crew watched on internal cameras, but by the time they thought to eject the section of hull, the human was already inside. What followed was never fully recorded. Only fragments of security feeds remained. Flashes of muzzle fire, shapes moving too fast to track. the crew screaming in languages no one outside their worlds had ever heard. When the Rovkar, the alien ship, was found months later, was still drifting. Every system was offline, every crew member gone. Only a single human calling card was left floating on the bridge, a strip of metal etched with the words, "The hunt ends when you are all gone." And the galaxy understood something. In that moment, the war had ended long ago, but humanity's vengeance had only just begun.